Welcome back to Estonian Unlocked. In today's video, we will talk about the present and future conjugation. So when we talk about conjugation, what we're talking about is taking a verb that is in its normal form and changing it to make it into a usable form in a sentence. So if you look to the left here, we've got our English pronouns and our verb to love. And in order to use to love in a sentence, first of all, we have to get rid of this to, and then we take one of our pronouns and we throw it together with the verb I love. In English, we don't change our verb for any of our pronouns except our third person singular pronouns. So for example, she loves, we add an S to the end of love. And that's how we conjugate verbs in English. Now, we do a very similar thing in Estonian, but in order to understand that, we have to take a step back and just look at verbs. So verbs come in many forms in Estonian, but the main one to know is the infinitive form. And the English equivalent for the infinitive form is just our verb with the word to in front of it. So for example, to love. In Estonian, there are two main infinitive forms to know. The first form always ends with ma. So the example for Estonian would be armastama. And armastama means to love. The next form is the second infinitive, which often ends with ba, ta, or just a. So the example for to love is armastada. That is the second infinitive for to love, and it still means to love. When we're conjugating, the one that we want to focus on, the one that's important to us, is the ma infinitive. Now on the left here, we have our Estonian pronouns. If you do not have these memorized or you don't know about these, go check out our video about Estonian pronouns and really get these down before moving on. On the right, we have a similar table with a variety of endings that correspond with these pronouns. So let's talk about how to use this. If we take the verb armastama and we chop off this ma at the end, we are left with armasta. This is what we call the conjugation stem. Now to use this, we choose a pronoun. So let's choose mina, I. And then we take our conjugation stem and we add it next to it, armasta. And there's a big old gaping hole on the end from where we chopped off this ma. And so we add to it the ending, the suffix that comes from that other table, the n. Mina armastan. And that means I love. We do the same thing for the other one. So sina armastad. Tema armastab. And we pull over these suffixes from our other table that correspond with our pronouns in this table. Now it's important to note that sometimes when we chop off this ma, we are left with a conjugation stem that doesn't really feel right. How do we add an N to the end of a D sound? Or how do we add another D to the end of a D sound? And so it's important to know that every conjugation stem is going to end with a vowel. So sometimes you are going to have to change the stem of the word after you chop off the ma in order to find the conjugation stem. But it's not always intuitive. So for now, if you're out talking to somebody in Estonian and you're trying to do this process, you chop off the ma in your head and now you're stuck at this part where you don't end with a vowel, what you can do is just guess what vowel to put there. And most often they're going to understand you. And if they don't understand you, then they might say, wait, what are you trying to say? At which point you can just say the ma form of the word, and then they can teach you the conjugation stem of that word. Or you can guess and maybe get it right, or go home and look it up later and try to figure out what it is and learn a new word. So let's do some practice here. Go ahead and pause the video and practice filling out this tree in the middle with your pronoun, your conjugation stem, and then add your suffix to the end of it. Okay, going through this together, we have mina, avan, right? So we take avama, we chop off the ma, and we're left with ava, which is what we add these suffixes to. The next one, sina, avad, or you, open. The next one we have tema, avab, he, she, or it opens. Then we have meie, avame, teie, avate, and nemad, avavad. The next one is mängima, to play. So as you're doing this one, be sure to say these out loud so that you can try to start committing these to memory and start to try to do this process in your head. Go ahead and pause the video and fill out this middle chart. And there we have it. Go ahead and double check what you have, make sure you got everything right, and then move on to the next example. And our next example is kirjutama, to write. So go ahead and do this one now with the shortened form of these pronouns. And there you have it. Go ahead and double check and see if you got everything correct. Now, as you look at this, it's important to realize that when we conjugate like this in Estonian, it is both present tense and future tense. So not only does ma kirjutan mean I write, it also means I will write in the future. So presently, I write and I will write. Ma kirjutan. Same thing with sa kirjutad. It means both you write and you will write. You are writing, you will write. Now you might ask, wait, isn't that confusing? How do you know if something's happening in the present or the future if we just say them both the same? And honestly, it's just context. And you'd be surprised that as you speak to people, that it really comes pretty clearly if it's happening now or if it's happening in the future. And if it doesn't come very clearly, then they use modifying words to make it clear. So like, I will write tomorrow. Ma kirjutan homme. Then they make it really clear that we're doing it tomorrow or we're doing this in the future. Otherwise, it's just in the present, and they can say like, I will write today. But honestly, most of the time, it's pretty clear just from context and from what you're talking about. And so that's it. Really easy to conjugate in the present and future tense in Estonian. All you do is you take your pronoun, you take your conjugation stem, and then you add your suffix to the end. If you found this video useful, please be sure to give us a like and subscribe, and we will see you next time on Estonian Unlocked.